Are you interested in sustainable building or are you just bored with traditional housing designs? Welcome to my dome house where sustainable living meets health and design. What's up everybody, my name is Dan. I designed and built this dome house to prove different sustainable designs are at hand. Join me as I take you on a tour to my home and how and why did I end up with this idea. Hopefully I can inspire you to make your own sustainable house. It all started years ago while I was traveling. I was amazed by the wide variety of architectural styles I encountered, and I kept on wondering, why do we keep building houses the same way, using only a limited range of materials and designs, when there are so many different ideas and options around the globe? From bamboo structures to earthships, 3D printed houses, and even ultra-modern concepts. There are countless ways to build a house, yet everywhere I went, the norm for modern housing was a square made of cement. Some details may have differed according to culture, but the construction system was essentially the same: block, cement, and iron to give it structure. I tried searching for the right architect, but the ones who I was interested already had projects for years. Other people offered me great visions, but they were short. Some were too expensive, and the materials were not easily obtained. And others failed to integrate different perspectives when managing just one aspect of the building. They may be architectural, but the social input was missing or vice versa. At the end, I opted to take a course with Dome Gaia. I highly recommend them. It was a great experience, and I got to learn how to build air-grid domes. I chose air-grid mostly because of its isolation properties, but also because of its versatility to work with it. It's really easy to cut with any kind of saw. We have been using cheap branch saws, and it takes little to no time compared to using traditional cement blocks. It is also really light, making it possible for masons to carry big blocks and making the process way faster. Airgrid is also fire resistant, and it's considered by some to be environmentally friendly, because it consumes way less cement and no other substances besides dishwashing soap and water. Although it is also possible to use a plant-based dish soap. It is fairly easy to make once you have the foam producing machine, which is not that complicated to do it yourself. There's already a bunch of videos about how to make airgrid on YouTube, but I will make sure to explain the way we did it on another video. I may not have studied architecture, but I have always loved history, and I have always been marveled by the ancient constructions, especially old castles, cathedrals, and even small common houses with simple lost technology. I think it's impressive on how some knowledge and basic tools can elevate structures that could last for hundreds and even thousands of years. All this without using any design software, heavy machinery, or any modern tools such as a simple drill. The solutions implemented more than 500 years ago or even 1,000 years ago can still be very useful today. I got a lot of inspiration from cathedrals, feng shui, bioconstruction, and earthships. The beautiful Roman domes may have influenced, but to be honest, the design comes more from an igloo. The arches that I use at the entries and the niches of my house were inspired by the arches in the cathedrals, as they are not just beautiful, but one of the most simple and most durable structures. They don't need any iron structures to hold it in place, which makes it a cheaper and more elegant option. The flower of life is a geometric pattern that is made up of interconnected circles that create a flower-like structure. It has been found all around the world in numerous ancient cultures and is the basic principle behind sacred geometry. It has been used in the construction of cathedrals and other structures. For example, the golden ratio was used to design many European Gothic cathedrals, such as the Cathedral of Chartres in France. Symmetrical and proportional geometric patterns have also been used in the construction of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris and the Cologne Cathedral in Germany. My house is based on proportions considering the sacred geometry and the flower of life. To start designing my house, I basically drew the flower of life on an aerial picture of the land until I was satisfied with the distribution, taking into account factors such as landscape, wind direction, and wind and summer sun exposure. Bioconstruction is a holistic approach that seeks to create buildings that are not only aesthetically pleasing and functional, but also sustainable, healthy, and environmentally responsible. Bioconstruction techniques incorporate natural resources that are locally available and renewable, like adobe, straw, bales, timber, bamboo, and earth, amongst others. In addition to using sustainable materials, bioconstruction also emphasizes energy efficiency, such as water conservation and healthy indoor air quality. Designing features such as passive solar heating, natural ventilation, rainwater harvesting, and water recycling are commonly incorporated to reduce energy consumption and minimize the impact on the environment. I try to be as energy efficient as possible by considering the wind and changing course of the sun throughout the year. Windows are directed towards the north and the south to get more ventilation if needed. They are slightly tweaked a few degrees towards the sunset, and the biggest windows are located towards the winter sunset, when I need the most heat to enter the house before nightfall. The small windows are directed towards the summer sunset, where I want to keep the house cool during the day. I always love the chimney in the house, not just because the heating effect, but also because it looks really nice. Fire has a deep connection with the spirituality, and for many cultures it represents a contact with our ancestors, while for others it can be a portal. In many cultures, people gather around a fireplace because it works as a place for exchange of ideas and a place to be thankful and pray for the ancestors. In Puebla, Mexico, where I was born, most of the traditional old houses have the kitchen in the central place in the house. I wanted to do the same thing with this house. The stove in my house was chosen considering spiritual, cooking, and heating factors. I got a great help from a Chilean friend who has been building rugged stove for years. It took us a whole month to build a fireplace, not just because I wanted something very particular, but also because throughout the construction process, I had a really hard time trying to find some special materials in Guatemala. In the case of the fireplace, I had to bring a piece of glass from Europe. It was not indispensable for the fireplace, in fact, it is no luxury, but considering the factors I mentioned, I believe it's really important to be able to see the fire. The main combustion chamber is connected to a second chamber. Smoke can then ignite when the second chamber temperature reaches the same temperature as the fuel source producing the smoke. The smoke is conducted below this iron plate, where I can cook, and then it goes to the outside. There are also two integrated ovens, one where the smoke goes through so I can cook pizzas in there, and the other one enclosed from the smoke, where I can bake a cake. Once the whole system is warm enough, I can redirect the smoke by closing the main chimney. The smoke is redirected underground to a secondary chimney, which will heat up the floor and transport the heat into other areas of the house. I can only send the fumes underground if the system is warm enough, and this because of the extra air intake that works the same way a turbo in a sports car. I also made a smaller fireplace in the bedroom area, which is connected to the secondary chimney. I normally use this fireplace only when it gets too cold or when I want to go to bed while watching the fire. At the beginning of the construction, I was living in a small wooden cabin, where I made some experiments with passive and biological filters. It all started when a friend of mine, Charlie, he proposed the idea and helped me build the first treatment system, and explained me some basic theory about filtering. Later on, I remember taking a whole weekend to read all I could find about the subject. At the end, I ended up mixing two different solutions in my main house. I hired a professional team that recycles water with passive treatment system. The company name is Veridian. You can find a link in the description of the video. The system is integrated by three main filters, a sand one, a resin one, and the last one made with zeolite. I also built a secondary system with different layers of rocks, activated charcoal and sand, in which I planted bananas and water lilies known for their capacity to clean water, especially heavy metals. I used plaster made with local dirt, and since the land where I live contains high amounts of sand, I had to buy some clay to make it more stable, but it's a material I'm able to get easily within a few kilometers away from my property. It also contains sand and activated charcoal. The idea behind this is to create a plaster that can also work as an air filter, making the house healthier. Clay and dirt plaster also have the property to regulate humidity. When it's humid, the walls will absorb humidity, and when it's dry, it will release the humidity. I considered some basics about Feng Shui since the moment I designed the house. Feng Shui is a traditional practice that involves arranging your surroundings in a way that promotes balance, harmony between people and their environment. The practice of Feng Shui involves analyzing the flow of energy, and it's often used in interior design and architecture to create spaces that can induce relaxation, productivity, fortune, and overall well-being. Feng Shui originally comes from China, but it has been adapted into different cultures. Some aspects have been scientifically studied and validated, while other aspects remain largely based on traditional and cultural beliefs. Since water is related to the south, I built a main shower and water treatment system in this direction. Water represents our career, path in life, and thus is important to keep the water in motion and avoid stagnation. East is represented by green and is related to earth. This area has been painted green and the decoration will contain as much vegetation as possible. This area represents our ancestors, our past and foundations. Here is the perfect place to have a small altar to your ancestors. North is fire and is related to fame and reputation. I still need to build an exterior fireplace in this area, and maybe this is why I'm not famous yet. West is where the entrance is located, is represented with metal, and is related to the future and creativity. It will be represented with a cast iron decoration close to the main door. According to Feng Shui, sharp corners and edges should be avoided as they are believed to create negative energy known as Sha. Rounded corners are preferred for the aesthetic beauty and positive influence of energy flow within space. Sharp edges inside and outside houses are considered to be unfavorable and may impact in one's health. All cultures and civilizations have developed their own unique ways of building according to local materials and their society. It was not until the 19th century that modern cement started to be widely used around the world. Romans have their own unique way of working with cement. It was so durable that we can still see marvelous upstanding structures that are 1,000 years old. So unique that it was able to dry and withstand the salty ocean. Their arches withstand the passage of time the same way a cave will do. Bamboo structures in Southeast Asia are not just a beautiful option, but they can also be very ecological. China and Japan developed their own very unique ways of building houses. Both of them made extensive use of wood. In Japanese houses, everything is closely tied to the philosophy of harmony with nature, which is a fundamental principle for their culture. The natural beauty and warmth of wood are valued in Japanese architecture, and wooden buildings are seen to create a connection with the natural environment. In addition to wood, other materials such as stone and brick were also used in Chinese architecture, especially for more important structures, such as temples and palaces. Mesoamerican civilization houses were designed to provide shelter from the hot, humid climate of the region, as well as protection from the frequent rains and strong winds. Detached roofs provided insulation against the heat and kept the interior cool, while the adobe walls helped to regulate the temperature and humidity. In the north of India, houses were typically made by using bricks made of straw and clay, while in the south, they were more commonly made of stone and mortar. Native Americans have a variety of housing styles. Wigwams were constructed using a framework of poles covered with woven mats or bark, making a dome-shaped house. Longhouses were used by the Iroquois and other tribes in the northwest region and were made of framework poles covered with bark. Teepees were used by the nomadic tribes of the Great Plains and were made by the cone-shaped frame of poles covered with animal hides. Adobe houses were used by the tribes in the southwest and were made by sun-dried bricks of mud and straw. Peat houses were used by the tribes in the Pacific Northwest and were partially underground with the framed wooden poles covered with bark or mats. These traditional housing styles had several benefits. The structures could be easily modified or moved to suit the changing environment or social conditions. The materials used were often easily obtained locally. Many of the traditional housing styles had thick walls or coverings that provided excellent insulation against extreme temperatures. Traditional housing styles were often deeply tied to the cultural identity of the people who used them, serving as a representation of their history and the way of life. One of the most important designs I had the opportunity to see while traveling were the airships, because they are so efficient in terms of energy and design. The aim of the airship is to create a home that operates in harmony with natural environment and reduces the reliance on external resources. I could keep going on with this and make a whole video about the interesting ways of building houses around the world throughout history, but I wanted to emphasize the large amount of building techniques around the globe. Each of them developed specifically to their geography and their society. Nevertheless, brick and cement square houses seem to be the modern rule. I understand how cement and the square shape is practical, but is still highly inefficient in terms of resources, and it may not be the best option for every location. Every geographic location has its own factors to be considered, including social factors, climate conditions, local building materials that could make the construction cheaper, easier, and more sustainable. I believe that our homes should be personalized according to our culture and our way of life, to provide not just shelter to sleep and eat, but also a comfortable space in which we can rest, create, enjoy, and nurture ourselves. The place where we live has an impact on our conscious and subconscious minds, since we spend most of our time in there. Especially with the pandemic, it is logical to spend most time and resources designing and creating a living space that matches our vision and principles. Research has shown that angular shapes, such as squares and triangles, can elicit feelings of alertness and tension, while curved shapes, such as circles and arches, can elicit feelings of calm and relaxation. This is because angular shapes activate the amygdala, which is part of the brain responsible for processing fear and anxiety, while curved shapes activate the prefrontal cortex, which is part of the brain responsible for decision-making and problem-solving. People tend to feel more comfortable in spaces that are proportional to their bodies, which is why small places can feel cozy and inviting, while large spaces can feel overwhelming and impersonal. The shape of our home can also affect the way we perceive space. Curved walls creating a sense of expansiveness, and angular walls creating a sense of enclosure. Spaces with high ceilings can promote creativity and cognitive flexibility, while spaces with low ceilings can elicit feelings of confinement and limitation. The shape of our homes can also affect our physical health, with natural light and ventilation playing a crucial role in promoting wellness. According to the theory of forms, all shapes can affect our conscious and subconscious minds. Round shapes tend to give comfort and safety, as they resemble the womb of our mother. They also do not cut off with external environments, like a mountain that has a connection with its surroundings. A circular house can also harmonize with the natural environment thanks to its curved design. Round houses follow the natural patterns and rhythms found in the universe, such as the golden ratio spiral. The simplicity and harmony in design make them more sustainable and aligned with nature, providing more balance between nature and environment and one's inner self. This simplicity and harmony in design make them more sustainable and aligned with nature, providing balance between the natural environment and one's inner self. This balance contributes to a sense of harmony and well-being. Due to their shape, round houses have less surface in contact with outside weather, resulting in reduced energy consumption to maintain a comfortable temperature. Also, the interconnected points around the house provide a unique combination of flexibility and resistance, making them safer in case of earthquakes. The aerodynamic properties around the houses also minimize drafts, making them more energy efficient. Their aerodynamic shape makes them more resistant to hurricane-force winds and less susceptible to wind spanning. The rounded shape also blocks external noise. Sound waves dissipate around the building, creating a softer sound inside and making them ideal for rest, concentration, socializing, and playing music. The hexagon is the most stable and efficient shape, which is why it can be seen naturally forming where the whole needs to be subdivided without leaving any empty spaces or compromising its structure. Like honeycombs, snowflakes, compound dyes of various insects, and even certain types of minerals. In the 1990s, a Ukrainian researcher, Dr. Alexander Golod, experimented with small-scale pyramids made of various materials and measured the effects on the pyramids on living organisms and other objects. The experiments showed that the pyramids have a range of beneficial effects, including increased seed germination, faster plant growth, improved health and well-being in animals, and enhanced preservation of food and other perishable materials. There is enough evidence in our daily lives to show how structures can affect us. It is no wonder why designers and architects spend so much time developing malls and supermarkets, specifically designed to make us buy more useless stuff, fast food chains that design for quick consumption, work environments that makes us produce more. Why not take all this knowledge and use it to design a house that has a positive impact in our subconscious? By this, I mean a house that is designed for things we enjoy and like to do. For example, if you like to paint, wouldn't you like to have a beautiful illuminated studio? Or if you like to dance, wouldn't you like to have an open space where to move freely? For me, I enjoy reading, designing, and writing on my computer. Thus, my studio is at the second floor where I have a great illumination and a great view of my surroundings. I can focus better thanks to its circular design, and I don't lose touch with the outside thanks to its windows, skylight, door, and shape. I have been asked about the performance in the face of earthquakes, to which I always answer with the same analogy. Like a beer can, they withstand the pressure to their circular shape that makes them able to support large amounts of other cans at the top of them. If they were square, they will have 4 weak points. If one fails, the whole structure is compromised. While the cylinder or the sphere distributes the weight equally over the entire structure, which means it doesn't have a weak point, in the same way as Roman domes do or the majestic Gothic cathedrals. These structures have the ability to support great amounts of weight and achieve aesthetic beauty by delivering size and rigidity. Another reason to jump into this kind of building adventure, other than being ecological, is to be practical and sustainable. By this, I mean harming our ecosystem as little as possible, not just for moral reasons, but for practical ones. We are damaging our ecosystems and thus ourselves. If we poison the water, we poison ourselves. If we don't manage our trash and disposals, we will end up eating plastic. In fact, we already are. It is no secret that fish contain small amount of microplastic that we end up eating, as well as poison in our crops and hormones in our poultry and livestock. Most of our city buildings and houses are negatively affecting our ecosystem. All the cement and asphalt do not allow rainwater to drain adequately. The buildings require extra energy to heat or cool them, and all the vehicles add to the problem. No wonder why big cities are having a hard time dealing with all kinds of pollution. Cement is a non-renewable resource. It can also cause serious health issues, such as respiratory problems, skin irritation, and even lung cancer and silicosis. Still is widely used around the globe. Cement makes up for 90 to 95% of the construction materials in most houses, and more than 80% of the houses around the globe are built this way, which means most of humanity is using one of the most toxic, non-renewable materials to spend most of its time. As humans, we have been messing with our ecosystem for far too long, and now we are just starting to see how it's coming back at us. We need to start working smarter and with nature, not against it. Trying to sail against the wind will only make things worse for us in the long run. I'm not suggesting we stop using cement. I understand that it is highly useful and a versatile material, but we don't need to overuse it because of its environment and health implications. We can use it only accordingly to its benefits and minimize its use. I never meant to avoid using cement. The same goes for polymers and plastics. That's why I can't say my house is fully ecological. I'm still using some polymers for plumbing and electricity, and other aspects that makes up a modern house. I believe that we can still learn a lot from our past technologies and combine them with modern ones to improve the way we interact with our ecosystem and the way we live. The best way I could start by making a change is with my own house. I did my best to make it as sustainable as possible. I made a water treatment system that allows me to reuse the water in my crops and garden. I use a solar heating system for my water and a rocket stove that is so efficient that it ends up burning even the smoke and fuels, so I minimize my carbon footprint. I use clay and dirt for plaster, making it local, cheaper and healthier. I have managed to minimize the use of polymers, plastics and cements to the most vital details. I would love to use solar or wind electricity, but in Guatemala we have to pay extra taxes for this kind of energy. Speaking about dumb greedy people.
To summarize, I believe that the vast majority of homes are ignoring many factors that are generating higher costs of living and damage to the environment and our health. Sustainable design not only benefits the environment, but only contributes to our physical and mental well-being. We have the technology and the necessary knowledge to develop alternative kinds of buildings that can stop or at least limit the environmental damage that we are causing, including in the construction area. One example is the construction of earthquake domes such as this one, which reduces the use of consumption materials and can be adapted with different green technologies to reduce energy consumption and create a healthy living environment. I designed my house to be sustainable and have a positive impact on my subconscious minds and my surroundings. It allows me to focus on work on my passions, such as cooking on a wooden stove every day, watching a lit fireplace while going to bed, shower in an ample bathroom that resembles a river, and much more. Although I still need to do some work to make it perfect, I consider myself to be very lucky to have a unique house and suit my tastes, preferences, and activities. I hope you enjoyed the video. It took me a very long time since the last time I edited and put it in YouTube. I hope it motivates you and gives you a new perspective. Please let me know what are your thoughts on my adventure. I don't know if you might be interested in having a house like this. What do you think of the future of architecture will look like? Maybe we see different kinds of buildings or a resurgence of local architecture, or maybe we keep on seeing the same kind of buildings that we have been seeing for the past 100 years. If you like the video and you like the process, please like the video. It will help to promote it, and so other people can see it and experiment new kinds of buildings. And please share it also with your friends.